So good afternoon everyone. So we are fortunate to have Dr. Shelly Praveen ma'am, Head Division of Biochemistry and Course Director of this NHP CAST training with us. And we have Dr. Vinutha, so she is scientist at this division. So today in continuation with the series of experiment, today we are going to have an experiment on green solvent based extraction of vitamin E. But before that, we'll do the customary. I request my coordinator to please welcome course director and Vinutha with a flower bud.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sandhu.
So now I request Dr. Shelly Praveen ma'am to please brief about this experiment.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjan. Very good afternoon to each one of you. I am back again in this lecture hall, and today we are going to discuss about the extraction of vitamin E. So you all know that vitamins are vital amines. Vitamins means vital amines. So the chemical composition is amino group, and they are vital for your health. That is why they are called vital amines or vitamins. They are named as several A, B, C, D. Today we are going to talk about E. So vitamin E, you must have heard about that it is required for many purposes. Can any one of you tell me what is the important role of vitamin E? Antioxidant. So it is very good that antioxidant is a buzzword, and in many food fortification programs we always feel that we have to eat lot of antioxidants, and vitamin E is the nature's perfect antioxidant. So today Dr. Vinutha is going to explain you that why we need an extraction protocol for vitamin E and why we need to fortify vitamin E. So as per the policy issues by FSSAI, all the commercial edible oils available in the market are fortified by vitamin E. Have you noticed that? So you please go and see where whatever bottles available in your house, whether groundnut, sunflower, any oil, you just see it is written that fortified by vitamin E, some amount, milligram per ml or something, that unit is there. So why there is a need for fortification? So in the initial class we discussed that whenever we are less in certain nutrient, whatever daily based commodity which you are eating like oil, if it is supplemented or fortified with certain vital amines like vitamin E, then it is good for health. So vitamin E is a oil soluble vitamin. So it is to be fortified in oils. So that is one purpose that FSSAI has come up with this fortification. The second point I want to mention is when so much of oil is to be consumed every day. So you can imagine how much vitamin E is required for fortification. So we should have that much amount of vitamin E coming from some source so that it can be fortified into oil. So there is no natural source exploited for this purpose. And vitamin E which we are using for fortification is synthetic in nature. Now I am taking back to Dr. Srinivasan's class. He has mentioned an example where one chemical is in two forms, R and S form, two enantiomers, and that is based on the chiral center, a carbon which is attached to 4 different groups. So vitamin E is having 3 chiral centers. So you can imagine how many enantiomers are present. So those enantiomers, once you synthesize in the laboratory, it is a mixture of R and S. You cannot synthesize only one enantiomer synthetically. And our body absorbs only the S form, R form of the vitamin E. So if you are synthesizing and putting it for fortification purpose, it is a mixture of R and S. And triple R, because 3 chiral centers are there, that is available to our body. So in that mixture it is only 12.6%. Otherwise there are some other forms RRS, RSS, triple S, so you can make those combinations, and triple R form is only 12.6%. So whatever amount they are claiming that they are fortifying, your bioavailability to your body is only 12.6%. That is one issue. That is related to quantity. Quantity wise it is very less available. Second, as Dr. Srinivasan mentioned, the S form. The S form in the sleeping pill, that example, please recall that example, may be hazardous for another metabolic pathway, which we do not know, which we may know after 5 or 10 years when these kinds of repercussions are coming. So that S form unnecessary we are eating. The fortified vitamin E is only 12.6% available to your body. So what is the remedy? That remedy is that somehow if we are able to lay our hand to only triple R forms, and that is possible only from natural sources. So God has created so many natural resources which are full of vitamin E. So it is better if we develop some good protocols or efficient protocols so that we can extract from those sources and then we can supply to industry for the fortification purposes. So that with that objective, Dr. Vinutha in this division has started this work. And from the last 5 years, she is engaged in different type of vitamin E pathway related work. So she has identified 5 to 6 different oil-bound commodities where vitamin E is in abundance. Soybean is one of them. So soybean oil, we all use soybean oil in our kitchens. So once you extract oil, the remaining material is a soya meal, which is a soya cake. When we extract the material, oil, that soya meal is having still some oil and vitamin E, which we are exporting to different countries with a throwaway prices. So if that soya meal, which is a waste for us, we can extract vitamin E from soya meal and develop an efficient protocol, cost-effective protocol, so that triple R form can be extracted. And why he mentioned, Dr. Ranjan mentioned about green solvent. Why we need a green solvent? Because we are going to use it for edible purposes. So cost effectively, if we can extract vitamin E and upscale it up to the industry level, so that all the oil industry will take this natural vitamin E for fortification purposes. So with this objective, this division is working to develop efficient protocol. And now we are ready with a very good protocol which she is going to give you the details and demonstrate that how vitamin E can be extracted from oil. Now this is under, we are going for patenting of this method, and then we are going for upscaling at the industry level. So that industry, small scale industry can take up this protocol from us and take any commodity which you feel is cheap, easily available and cost effective manner if you can extract vitamin E in abundance so that you can supply to edible oil industry. So this is really, if we are able to achieve this, we are able to cut $1 million import from other countries. So at present we are importing synthetic vitamin E from many countries, including Germany. Germany, BASF is giving us that. So in-house we are having that material with us, which we are exporting with a very low price. And on the other hand, we are importing vitamin E, which is synthetic, 12.6% available to you, and we do not know the effect of S form. So this kind of experiments and this kind of applied research is the need. So that is, I welcome Dr. Vinutha. She has done a remarkable work in the developing an extraction protocol, and she will explain you in detail how, if you have to start your own developing of this kind of protocol, what thing you should keep in mind and how to standardize it. And then ultimately you have to validate at the UPLC, high pressure chromatography level, so that you can identify different peaks, which shows that it is the purest form. Thank you once again, and we are in contact, we will in touch. So we keep interacting whenever we feel that different type of nutritional aspect of vital amines are discussed. Today she is going to deal with vitamin E. We are also parallelly working on vitamin A. So if the time permits, we will include vitamin A also. But I hope that today she is able to finish vitamin E. Welcome, Vinitha.
Thank you, ma'am. Today you all are going to do practical on vitamin E extraction, as already been said by Dr. Shelly Praveen. You just see the brief introduction why we need natural vitamin E. So she already said that if you see the structure of tocopherol, you see that it has both hydrophobic tail. This is an hydrophobic tail, it is attached in the tocopherol structure, and this is a chromonol ring. So the hydrophobic tail is nothing but it is a hydrophobic in nature. That means it won't dissolve in water. And at the same time, this chromonol ring, it has hydrophilic in nature. This is the one in the structure which has an ability to capture reactive oxygen species, and it will scavenge the reactive oxygen species. Because of this nature, tocopherol is regarded as a powerful antioxidant. So why natural vitamin E? Again, she already explained that it has a triple R form of configuration. Configuration is nothing but an arrangement of atoms. That chiral center, what she said is, this has 3 different chiral centers which is attached with the methyl group. So if it is having a 3 methyl groups in a structure, that means it is an alpha tocopherol. Depending upon the number of methyl groups it will attach to a phytyl chain, it will be called as an alpha tocopherol, beta tocopherol, gamma and delta tocopherol. Basically tocopherol has 4 kinds of compounds, that is alpha, beta, gamma and delta tocopherol, and in natural form you can see most probably alpha, delta and gamma form, and beta form is very less in content. And tocopherol is also called as an vitamin E, it is already you all know now. And vitamin E composed of not only tocopherol, it also has tocotrienols, and tocotrienols content are very less in the natural sources, be it oil seeds or be it any oil crops or whatever it is, you find very less amount of tocotrienol. So therefore the people or researchers, they always go to extraction of tocopherol as a richest source of vitamin E. And come to the point of why triple R form of vitamin E is having highest biopotency than your synthetic forms. So whatever you are getting in the medical shops currently, all are synthetic vitamin E, and it has only 12.5% of the triple R form, and because of this reason you can see that the 50% of biological activity in the synthetic vitamin E is reduced, and R in the sense if you see the 50% more vitamin E activity if you see in the natural form of vitamin E. That is also because that our body is having tocopherol transfer protein, that is called as a TTP protein. It has unique to that particular triple R form of tocopherol. So therefore it will bind to triple R form of tocopherol and it will transfer within the cells and wherever it is required for the scavenging reactive oxygen species. So if you see the market demand for natural vitamin, why we are after it, why we want to extract, we should have an efficient protocol with us in order to extract vitamin E. Why we are after natural vitamin E? This is because it is presently having a huge demand for vitamin E. If you see this is in Indian scenario, this is a global market demand, $820 million US, it was estimated in the 2006. If you see our India condition, that India presently we are importing all natural vitamin E from 3 major countries, that is Germany, USA and China, and with the value of 12.69 million US dollars, and it is going to expected to increase by 15.4% by 2020, and this is the huge demand. You can see that why India presently we are importing, being a 5th largest producer of soybean. So if you all know that the soybean is the richest source of vitamin E. Rather, we can say the soybean is the cheapest source, and even sunflower is also a richest source of vitamin E. But since soybean is cheaper, we will get in a cheaper price, and people can go for soybean as a natural source to extract vitamin E. And if you see what are all the uses of vitamin E, since it is a powerful antioxidant, it is used as a dietary supplement, and it is also used as a fortificant in food and beverages, and it also has anti-cancerous property, and also it will enhance the immune system because of its antioxidant nature. And if you see that one molecule of tocopherol can scavenge 120 molecules of singlet oxygen molecule. You can just imagine the powerful or the capability of the tocopherol molecule, why it is called as a powerful antioxidant molecule. So with this brief introduction, we are into the extraction of vitamin E, and if you see that we have used several solvents. Why we have used several solvents? Because the sources, whatever the sources, be it a soybean or be it a sunflower or olive oil, coconut or whatever it is mentioned here, and all these forms of natural forms, if you see, it is composing of different fatty acid content, isn't it? Some are highest in saturated fatty acid and some are highest in unsaturated, some are having a mixed ratio of both saturated and unsaturated. Depending upon that, your tocopherol extraction method should also will get modified. And you all know that it is having both polar and non-polar in nature, in the sense it is having both hydrophilic and hydrophobic component in it. We can extract with both the solvents, like polar solvents and non-polar solvents, but you should keep it in your mind that if you are going to extract an oil, you must go for extraction of oil with the non-polar solvent, isn't it? Because your oil is a lipid and it will be soluble only in the non-polar solvents. Once your oil is there in your hand, then to extract vitamin E, you can go for polar solvents or non-polar solvent depending upon the source of oil. So today what we are using is a soybean oil. In the soybean oil, we are using polar solvents because we have tried n number of solvents and we could able to get a sharper peaks and a good amount of quantity of vitamin E when we are using polar solvents, and that is this particular protocol which I have not shown here because it has to be under patent. So that protocol has not shared right now. That protocol also has got a best protocol award in the last year by Global Bio India, which is conducted by DBT. So what is the principle of vitamin E? The vitamin E extraction principle is very simple, that once you extract an oil, if you want in an oil form, if you want to extract vitamin E in the oil form, you go for extracting oil from the particular source, be it a soybean or sunflower or olive, whatever, and sometimes the vitamin E is also rich in kind of other forms like powders, like flour material, soybean flour material or sunflower flour material, whatever. You can, depending upon the source, you can extract vitamin E, and the solvents whichever you use, if you are using a flour material, you should go for sonication. This is in your practical class, it is an optional step because sonication is required in order to break the cell wall. So once you break the cell wall, then only your membrane will get exposed, and breaking of membrane will release vitamin E from the membrane. So if you see that alpha tocopherol always present on the surface of the membrane, why it is always present on the surface of the membrane? Because of its stereomer, or because of its configuration, it cannot go on deeply buried inside the membrane. Because of its structure, it can able to always present on the surface of the membrane. Because of this reason, alpha tocopherol can scavenge highest amount of reactive oxygen species because it is exposed on the surface of the membrane. So now once the sonication step is done and once your vitamin E compounds are released into the solution, then you can go for centrifugation. In the centrifugation, you have to take, after centrifugation, the supernatant, and that supernatant will be having your vitamin E, which is present in the polar or non-polar solvents, and you just take out that supernatant, then you inject into the UPLC or HPLC in order to quantify the same. So this is the detailed protocol. I am not going to tell this detailed protocol here. You will be giving handouts of this protocol in the lab once we are after this lecture, and each one of you will get that handout. No need to take snapshot also, you will get an handout. And this whatever for this you need to have a standards. The standards you have to procure from a Sigma. Sigma is the company where it provides these compounds, and this standard compounds will cost from 2000 to 16,000 for 25 mg, and you have to make a working solution from it. For example, here it has been given like 5, 10, 15, 20 ppm. You make, and we will show you how to make all those solutions in the lab, and then you inject all those things in the UPLC, then you will get a peak areas, and also you inject your sample material, and depending upon the peak area you can calculate what is the amount of tocopherol which is present in the sample, whether it is in microgram of vitamin E present per ml of oil or microgram of vitamin E present per gram of sample. So how will you calculate? I am just giving you a brief calculation part. So you all know that 1 ppm is 1 mg per liter, isn't it? This can also be written as 1 microgram per 1000 microliter, isn't it? So now whatever you are injecting, the supernatant you are taking, you are going to inject only 5 microliter. So in the 5 microliter, what is the amount of vitamin E which is present? This you can calculate, it is somewhere around 0.005 microgram per 5 microliter. So your total solvent volume which you have used for extracting vitamin E is 10 ml. You are going to use 10 ml of solvent for 1 ml of oil which you have extracted. Then you have to again calculate for the 10 ml what is the amount of vitamin E content which is present. So this is x microgram per ml, it will be 50 microgram per ml. So this is what you have to calculate in your experiment, how to calculate whatever the amount you will quantify it. So with this we will go to a lab now, and we will start doing the assay.
Thank you, Dr. Vinutha, for such a wonderful explanation for the vitamin E extraction through green solvent. Now we have tea outside. After tea, we will go to lab for practical. Thank you, Dr. Vinutha, for explaining very nicely protocol for tocopherol extraction through green solvent. So it's a customary. So I would like to felicitate you with a memento. Thank you, Dr. Vinutha.
Have the oils, different oil, olive oil, then I have the sunflower oil, almond oil. So these I am keeping it here. Any one oil we will take, sunflower oil like I am taking today. So from the oil I will take 1 ml of the oil, and then after that I will dilute it to 10 times. Depending upon your crop, your food material, it is not necessary that you have to always dilute to 10 times. 5 to 10 times you can use any solvent. So we have done it to 10 times. So 1 ml of the oil I will take. If anybody want to do it, okay. So because oil are viscous, so we have to be very careful that 1 ml should come in that. Okay, you do it. Huh? So sunflower oil we are taking 1 ml. You just take it carefully so that if your pipetting error is there, you know the result will always be problem. Then we have to dilute 10 times, means how much ml we have to add the solvent? 9 ml. Okay. So we have the Hexane we are using for the soybean flour. If you have flour, then you have to extract with the HPLC grade chemicals. If you have to estimate your tocopherol by HPLC, then you should be very much careful that HPLC grade chemical should be procured from a very good company like Merck or Sigma. All the standards also you have to be very careful by before attempting your this experiment. These all should be of Sigma. Other maybe you will not be have that purity which they are providing. So this methanol I have already taken from the bottle. This is HPLC grade. So 9 ml. This 9 ml magic cylinder you can have. Oh, just take it. This 9 ml you will just add in that tube oil. Cap it, then we will vortex it so that the oil is properly mixed in that. So this type of turbidity you will see. So you have to keep it for some time and you have to leave it overnight for the better extraction of vitamin E, means efficient. The whole tocopherol should come in your solvent. So you have to keep it overnight. After overnight, you have to incubate at 4 degree. After that, you will centrifuge it. You will get a supernatant, and that supernatant you will pass through the column. Before that, we have to filter it. So filtration, because the column, you know, HPLC is a very sophisticated instrument. You can't use it like that. So you have to take care of that instrument properly. So before putting your sample inside the HPLC, you have to pass your samples to the filter, and the filter should be of 0.22 micron, because you must be seeing, I can show you, these are the, it is written pore size 0.22 micron, and PVDF membrane. These are also different company and different quality. PVDF different types also, PVDF, PTFE, nylon. So depending upon your solvent, if you are using buffer, any solvent, if you are using any buffer, then you have to use nylon membrane. Okay. For any solvent, you can use this one, PVDF. I am not just waiting this, let it get settled down. When it is clear, we will just take it out and filter it. I will do it. I will just show you one. Okay. It is not clear, but it has to be very clear. So next day only you will get a clear layer. You will open this vial. These are the HPLC vial. In this directly you have to filter it. Okay. So these are coming with the instrument. So with the pressure you have to pass it. Okay. Cap it. So you can see the clear layer has come. So this one only we will put into the UPLC instrument, and there we have a protocol already set. In the UPLC also you have to set a protocol for the estimation part. So that also you have to standardize. Like extraction we have standardized, for estimation part also you have to standardize. So this protocol we have already written for, I have already said for estimation part that you have to make the different dilution of your standard. So alpha tocopherol, delta tocopherol, gamma tocopherol, these we have already written. Alpha is 1000 ppm, delta also 1000 ppm, gamma also 1000 ppm. Stock solution you have to make. After that dilutions you will do 5 ppm, 10, 20, 40, 60, 80, different dilution for the standard curve. For all these standards you have to first run through the UPLC. In the UPLC one advantage is like that you only need 4 to 5 microliter of your injection. Otherwise in HPLC column, where the column is 5 micron, you need 20 microliter of your injection. In this, the particle size of the column is very less, 2.1 micron as compared to 5 micron in the HPLC. 2.1 micron pore size, if column is having, then you will have the good resolution, means the peaks when you will see in the UPLC, you will have the high resolution peaks. Peaks you can see easily, sharp fine peaks will be there. Okay. So different dilution you have to make for the standard. After you have to make first standard curve, you will get one equation, and depending upon the area, how you will make the graph in that, like protein, how you are doing, you are estimating the OD. So in that you are recording the area of the peak. So different area for different dilution you will be getting. So you have to make the graph according to the area. So when you will draw a graph for different standards, alpha, delta and gamma, you will get 3 different equations, and according to that, for 3 different equations you will get 3 different areas for your sample also. 3 different peaks also you will get in the sample. In this only one peak you will get. For alpha you will get only one alpha peak, for delta only one, but in the sample, because it is having all the types of tocopherol, so you will get, depending upon your sample, it is not necessary that you will get all the peaks. Like sunflower you can get only alpha more and gamma less. So depending in wheat germ you are getting all the peaks in a very good amount. You can see all the peaks in a very nice form. Okay. So you can calculate depending upon the area of the standard. So I want to show you the UPLC instrument also. So we can move there. 10 minutes इधर बता देना मुझे ऐसे करके. So this is the instrument from Shimadzu. This is UPLC, ultra performance liquid chromatography. You very much be knowing about this instrument. So this is the, you can say, hardware, and this is the software. So these are, the different parts of the machine. These are the 2 pumps, pump A and pump B, and pump A will be connected to the one mobile phase, pump B will be connected to the another mobile phase. Okay, this is the auto sampler. Here we are keeping our samples. I can show you. This is the tray. Okay, so there 105 places are there. At a go you can keep your 105 tubes inside this.
So very warm good evening, and welcome you all in NHEP CAST training program. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Shweta Kumari. She is young budding scientist. So I welcome Shweta with a flower.
Thank you so much.
So she is working basically in the area of green solvents, and she have established protocol for vitamin A extraction from carrot powder. So it is a customary. I would like to felicitate Shweta with a memento.
Thank you so much, Sundar.
I request her to please brief about the protocol and the extraction method for vitamin A. Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you. So first I like to give the importance of the vitamin A. So why the vitamin A is important? So in everyday life we need the vitamin A, because why it is needed? This is first thing we know that vitamin A is for eye. Eye means vitamin A. So where it is occurs? Is it what is the source of the vitamin A? Carrots. Carrots is the source of leafy vegetables. So that is not the direct source of vitamin A, that is the indirect source of vitamin A. Direct source of vitamin A is vitamin A. Vitamin A only present in the animal source, not in the plant sense. So plant source is the beta carotene, that is gets synthesized the vitamin A, not the direct vitamin A present in the plant system. So vitamin A only present in the animal system. So animal system, what is the meat, egg is the cod liver oil, so whatever the fish, all those things are the source of vitamin A, and egg is the very high in the vitamin A also. So that is the vitamin A, but for the animals, vegetarian peoples not used to take the animal source, so they have to depend on the plant source, but there is a no direct supply of the vitamin A from the plant. So why? Because plant not able to directly synthesize vitamin A. They synthesize pre-source of the vitamin A, that is called provitamin A. Provitamin A is the which compound which is having ability to give the vitamin A. So that compound are called as provitamin A. So provitamin are what? So compound which are the, for example, beta carotene. Carotene is one of the examples, beta carotene. So among the carotene also many other compound also. So one is the beta carotene, which is having the high capability to give the vitamin A. Conversion ratio is high, beta carotene to vitamin A. Others are, other than beta carotenes, other than beta carotene, alpha beta carotene, alpha carotene. Okay, alpha carotene, cryptoxanthines, these are the example, cryptoxanthin, beta carotene, alpha carotene. These are the main source of provitamin A, you can say that, not the vitamin A, provitamin A, these are the, okay. So, these are compound will able to give the vitamin A. So, that is why we are interested to in the provitamin A from the plants. So, how we will get from, for that we need the extraction protocol, that compound. If we will can take directly, so that will be also one of the source, but direct taking is also, it will not useful for the efficiency is low, less, conversion ratio is less, because the viability. Why? Viability is less in, if we are taking directly from the plant source. So, if we will take, as for us, we will go for the extraction for that, and then pure form if we are taking, that the viability is higher of that. So, that is why we interested to extract, then we take, then it will have the higher viability percentage. Okay, that is why. So, we are going to do here extraction protocol of the provitamin A, how it will be extracted from the plant sources. So, for that how we will, so there is the first thing remember the source, number of source. I told you the plant only synthesized in the provitamin A in the plant source. So, there is in the plant also there are number of source. So, depending upon the source we also have to modify the protocols our. Okay. So, what is the source? One is the plant system, bacteria also, fungi, even lower microorganism, they also have the capability to synthesize is provitamin A and carotenoid. Provitamin A is mainly a smaller group, that is classified under the carotenoids, that is the large category of that compounds. Okay, carotenoids. So, carotenoids in bacteria, fungi, even microalgae and plants. So, depending upon the source we have to little bit modify the protocols. Okay. So, first thing we have to remember that source of the provitamin carotenoids. Okay. Then on that basis we have, then after that disruption of that, what we need, we have to disrupt from taking out from there. Okay. So, after disruption what we have to do, we have to extract from that. So, we need the solvent. So, we need solvent. Which type of solvent? Organic solvent. Why? Because this carotenoid compound are fat soluble. So, the non-polar in nature, so we need the non-polar solvent to get solubilize the carotenoid in the solvent. So, non-polar solvent. Among the non-polar solvent, many of the solvent. So, but depending upon the solubility of the non-polar solvent, the further extraction will be also vary, depending upon that. Okay, so we need the solvent further here. Further, so after choosing the solvent, we need to optimize the extraction protocol. So, depending upon that extraction protocol, we also further we have to go for the different types by using the different techniques. Okay, for examples, simple, supercritical. One is the supercritical fluid extraction. Okay, and then others. What are that? Microwave assisted we can go simple atmospheric solubilization through atmospheric, solid solvent interaction we can go. Okay, so like that, homogenization through atmospheric, and then supercritical, microwave. Others are enzymatic, enzymatic. For chemical, any chemical disruption and chemical through addition of chemical we can mechanical pressing of that. So, these are the number of techniques how we will utilize. Ultrasonication we can also try, that is the having the higher capability to penetrate and make the carotenoids from their source, samples, to take out the carotenoids. So, ultrasound is also, if giving, the recovery will be higher. Okay. So, after that extraction what we have to, if we wanted to purify for a particular compound, beta carotene, carotenoid, whole of the compound, then okay. For only for the beta carotene, then we have to go for the purification step. So, for the purification, what are the method? Dialysis, chromatography, chromatography and another salting out, not salting out, chromatography हो गया, and then different type of chromatography. You can thin layer, ultra centrifugation, you can say that ultra high pressure, okay, and thin layer हो गया, then column chromatography you can go for the, okay. So through the purification of through column chromatography we can purify the compound with particular types of the provitamin A. Then after we will take the reading for that pure form. Yeah, if you wanted to go for the crude form, we can also take the from the crude form. Okay. So by different reading, for the reading, how we will measure that? Through the spectrophotometer, yeah, through the UPLC also. Got it? Through UPLC, HPLC, GCMS, you can also LCMS, you can also utilize that for the measurement. So today we will just go for the spectrophotometric measurement. Spectrophotometric measurement for the carotenoids, there is the what will be absorption rate at the wavelength 450 nanometers. Okay, for the but for the these carotenoids are, if crude form then 450 we will take, but this carotenoid is having number of compound. Carotenoid is a two types, cyclic and non-cyclic carrot, which is the source. First is the carotenoid is divided into two categories. What are that? Carotene and xanthophyll, oxidized and non-oxidized. So oxidized are the xanthophyll or non-oxidized are the carotene. So oxidized means what are the example? Lutein and zeaxanthin. These are the example oxidized form. And the carotene form, there is the alpha and beta carotene and lycopene also. So alpha beta they comes under cyclic category, and acyclic is the lycopene is a straight chain of that. So these are the classification. So depending upon that, they are having the different wavelength, different absorption maxima. Okay, for the lutein this is a 445 if pure form it is having. Okay, but for the collectively we can take the 450. Okay, ready? So we will just go. Just wanted to here we are today interested in the from the extraction from the carrot. Okay, so these are the carrot samples. Samples we can do from the phrase as well as from the powder. Okay, so for the phrase samples we used to take homogenize and then we will go for the solvent extraction. But this is the carrot powder. So there is the advantage by using the carrot powder. What is the advantage? So this is the carotenoids are the, we know that non-polar solvent solubility. This is the fat solubles. So if there is a water content, so there is the extraction will be difficult there to take out from this water containing compounds. But here is the dried powder. So there is a higher extraction of the carotenoids from here. Okay, so dry powder. But we also know that carotenoid is the labile, heat labile, light labile. Okay, sensitive to that temperatures, even heat and light also. So we have to protect it from the light and heat. So during processing also some of the things get lost. Okay, so we have to optimize for the maximum less losses of that, maximum recovery of the carotenoid in the pure. So there is the process which has been standardized for the preparation of the carrot powder. So if we take from the carrot powder, it will higher recovery will be higher of the from there. So these are the two different here in the lab number of carrot is screened for the beta carotene and provitamin A also. So we found that there are two very high low category also present for the provitamin A. So this is the Rasna, this is the also this is the hybrid carrot which is present in the market. This is the very high in the provitamin A. So provitamin A is basically red